Local and vocal across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is Andy Collins
on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Now, a new college has been launched in Buckinghamshire dedicated entirely to supporting people's mental health. It's first for the country and is run by people who have experienced or live with mental illness themselves. One of them is Clara Lemmel from Cheshire. Now, our reporter, Matt Graveling, spoke to her at the launch.
I have had mental health issues and it's an ongoing recovery, and I started off in a unit 18 years ago as a patient, and 18 years later I'm now teaching my workshop for people in different stages of recovery.
Today was the first time you'd actually publicly shared your history with other people.
Yeah.
But there's another important person in your life who you're about to have that chat with.
My son Archie is 16 and I have never felt that I could talk to him about what happened to me. Maybe because I just feel that he would judge me. I know he loves me very much and he thinks of me as, what he describes me as, a feisty chihuahua. That I'm feisty, I'm strong. And I didn't want him to think that I'd been vulnerable once, that I'd had this problem. But now I feel that because of what's working at the Recovery College and the work that I do, it's the right time for me to sit him down and say, look, this is my journey, this is where I came to.
How are you feeling about sitting down and having that conversation with him?
Yeah, I am nervous.
Well, Clara joins me now. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Andy. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. So first of all, how did that conversation go with your son?
Thankfully, really well. He was very, very sweet and understanding and empathetic. Mm-hmm. And just said, well, you could have told me earlier, I would have been totally cool about it. But I said, I think now's the right time. I mean, he's 16 and turning into a really wonderful young man. And I think maybe that was the right time, and starting to work at the Recovery College. Timing seemed to be, it just felt right.
So you were getting all worked up and nervous about having that conversation, and then he's like, "You should have told me this ages ago."
Yeah, and he was very sweet, and he just gave me a big hug, and he just said, "Mum, I love you," and everything, all my worries and my anxieties about it, just melted away, and it just felt like a huge weight off my shoulder, to be honest with you, which is a relief, a real relief. Sorry. Yeah.
No, I was going to ask, if you wouldn't mind, could you tell us a little bit more about your history of mental health problems?
Yeah, I mean, 18 years ago, I was just one of those people that just did too much. I was a real doaholic, and I used to be overworked. I was also giving myself a really hard time, so I was just taking on far too much. I think it basically caught up with me over the years. And so I just stopped functioning when I was working in a very stressful job. I was working for an agent in the West End. It was supposed to be my ideal job. I was supposed to be happy. And then I stopped sleeping. Then I stopped eating. And all the warning signs was that it was all going very badly wrong. Thankfully, I had and still do have an amazing husband who was incredibly supportive and just said, you really need to speak to the doctor. And then within I'd say a couple of months of the first signs of not sleeping properly, not eating and not being able to switch off, I think that was my brain just kept moving. And that was the thing, that was a sign that something was very, very wrong. I went into a unit in East London, which is where I'm originally from. And then that's what happened. I started getting better very slowly. But thankfully, there was a unit there alongside the place I was staying in, which offered arts and crafts and different types of therapy. And I took to it like a duck to water. I absolutely loved what it did for me. And that's where my healing really started, the whole process of getting better. And so that's why it's literally full circle. It's 18 years since I was in that unit, and now I'm working in one and teaching, kind of taking a really, really tough situation, which was 18 years ago, and using it. It's the old saying, don't waste it, use it.
And it can be that thing, because it can sneak up, and like I said, you're not eating very well, or then you're not sleeping, and then your mind, and eventually your body goes, I can't do this anymore, and just shuts down.
Yeah, and that's exactly what was going. I mean, I lost about 2 stone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm very small anyway, in a very short amount of time. And it was very physical at first. People were sending me, my family was sending me to see doctors. What was wrong with me? My weight was just dropping off, and it was all a bit strange. But then the sleeping was also a major clue what was going on. I literally could not sleep because my brain just couldn't switch down. And I was under a lot of stress. Because the job I was doing, but also as thankfully a wonderful art therapist said to me at the time, you're not having a breakdown, you've had a breakthrough. The way you were living isn't working for you. You need to start looking after yourself and deal with the problems in the past and then move on. And I think with all the help that I had, it has certainly helped me back on the road to recovery. I haven't had an incident like that since, thankfully. That was 18 years ago. It's not to say I'm always in recovery when it comes to an illness like that, and you have to always be mindful of really looking after yourself well. But that was the last time where things really did get out of hand, and I needed intervention.
And now you're supporting the Buckinghamshire Recovery College by running a course.
That's right, yeah. I do Scrapbook Yourself workshops, which is about positivity, about documenting everything that's good in your life, because that is really, really important. That's what the Recovery College is about, is positivity, your own self-care, and looking forward and finding your own purpose, which is really important. So that's what I do.
I was going to ask you, how important is this college, and how does it operate?
It operates by supporting people that are accessing mental health services in Buckinghamshire, and it runs courses. They're not therapy. It's about finding your own purpose, to increase your skills, your knowledge and understanding about what mental health is and the journey that you're on. So it gives you more of a sense of finding where you're meant to go with it, and how to help yourself with people like me who have lived experience, who kind of get it, who know, working alongside professionals who are mental health care professionals. So it's coming at the issues in a sort of two-pronged way. And so the courses that they can access there will be creative, like what I do, but also about learning more about mental health. And it's not just for patients or for learners, it's also for carers as well, people who are involved with their sons or their daughters or their family that are involved with mental health.
Because that's the thing, isn't it? Because if you're there, if you're hearing it from it's hard to hear it from a doctor or a nurse, because it doesn't ring true. But if you're hearing it from someone who's been there and brought the T-shirt to you, to use that phrase, it helps put it into perspective for you, doesn't it?
Absolutely, and it's also gives a real sense of hope.
Yeah.
When you're in a very dark place and you see someone who comes in who's in control of their life, they're happy, they have purpose, and they're going, you know what, I know I've been there, I know how dark things can be, but there is a way out of there. So I think a lot of people are absolutely astonished when I say, you know what, I was there once, because of the kind of person that I am now. I'm very positive, I'm very upbeat. And that's one of the reasons why other peer tutors have been involved who are further down the line in recovery and can offer hope. And I think that's very important when you're dealing with mental illness.
It's been a real pleasure to talk to you this morning. And thank you so much for joining us and talking about this. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Bye, my darling. Bye. That was Clara Lemmer there from Chesham. And truly an amazing story. And I think an inspiration, really.